Judge Janine in the house, everybody. She's joining us now. You know her from her show Saturday nights on Fox News, where she's a host. But she's got a new book out. Don't lie to me and stop trying to take my liberty. Judge Janine, great to have you on.
Well, it's great to be with you, Buck. It's nice. I've missed you. I haven't seen you that much on Fox. And although you do come around, but I love listening to you, and it's great to be with you today.
Thanks so much for having the time with us. We appreciate it. So tell us, who's lying to you and why are they taking your liberty?
Well, the left is lying to us from the day Donald Trump came down the escalator. I won't even say the day he walked into the Oval, because the corruption started the day he said he was going to run for president, where they tried to frame him. And, every day there's more and more corroboration of it. So my first book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, was all about the Russia collusion delusion. And, my background as a prosecutor and a DA and a judge, it was pretty obvious what was going on there. And then I moved to Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge, where, they were so full of revenge for not having it dragged Hillary across the finish line that they resisted everything that Donald Trump did, and they were radical. But at this point, they're just out and out lying to us, and they're trying to steal our freedom. But look, what they want us to do is they want to, lock us in our homes, open the borders, defund the police, and take away our guns. None of that works for me, and I doubt it works for you. And, some of it they say is to protect us, and that the police are serial racist murderers. I mean, the nonsense that's going on in this country, with the insistence that, we stay in our homes, and then we find out, well, hey, wait a minute, it's people in the homes who don't get the fresh air or don't get the vitamin C, who aren't out there and who are on top of each other that are getting the problems and the illnesses. And then what they say to us, you can't open your business. As a result of that, people, suffer from depression. They go back to alcohol, drugs, suicide, kids, and I did this as a prosecutor, child abuse, sexual abuse in the home, domestic violence, neglect that's not being identified because nobody's out in public. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And then we've got this Kamala Harris, the most leftist senator in the Senate, who says the Constitution does not prevent her from confiscating our guns. And open the borders, and, everything will be great. And if you're from New York, as I am, you've got the mayor's wife, Charlene McRae, who says that to get rid of the police in New York would be like living in Nirvana. She, of course, has not bothered to get rid of her police detail. So as we go forward, I think the most important thing people can understand and take from the book is, number one, a lot of footnotes to support everything I'm saying. If you get in an argument with someone, just go to the book. That's number one. And number two, is the fact that so much is at stake right now as they're trying to turn this country, as you well know, Buck, into a socialist country, and that would be the worst thing that could happen to us.
Talking to Judge Janine Pirro. Her book is Don't Lie to Me and Stop Trying to Steal Our Freedom. Available now on Amazon.com. Judge, are we going to see, in your opinion, any justice for the either through the Durham probe or as a result of the Russia collusion hoax? The Federalists just had this great piece out about all these text messages from the FBI agents.
Yes.
They knew that they were acting improperly, and yet they're going to get away with it. What do you think?
Well, they not only knew that they were acting improperly, they knew that it was maddening, that it was crazy in that Oval meeting in the White House with President Obama and Jim Comey and Biden was in there too. And they said that they're it's like a madhouse. They're trying to collect information. They're using NSL letters, national security letters, so they don't have to get approvals from judges. And they knew that what they were doing was beyond the pale. It wasn't authorized. It wasn't legal. So they go out and get insurance, not the insurance they were talking about as if, if Donald Trump wins, let's get insurance, which was to kick in the impeachment piece. It's insurance for them, professional liability insurance to protect them from their own criminal, irresponsible, immoral actions. And then I got to tell you, Buck, this guy, Chris Wray, who's the head of the FBI, this guy's got to go. because a year later in the Senate intel hearings, the FBI is still going along with their lying narrative about the Steele dossier paid for by Hillary Clinton that was nothing more than barroom talk that they know was unverified. They knew the subsource, it had a counterintelligence investigation against him, and it was now working in the United States and was being paid for by Hillary Clinton. I mean, and this is just crazy.
Is there going to be any accountability, though, Judge?
Oh, but that I had a crystal ball, Buck. What I can tell you is this, that if there isn't, I have spent more than 3 decades, and I've run for office 5 times as a prosecutor and a DA and a judge, that will all have been lost because I believe in the system. I believe in Lady Justice. I believe she's blind. If there are no prosecutions other than the one indictment against Kevin Kline, a low-level FBI attorney, I will be extremely disappointed and wonder if it was all for naught.
Judge Jeanine Pirro, everybody. Check out, obviously, on Fox News, her show, Justice with Judge Jeanine, and her book. It's out now. Don't Lie to Me and Stop Trying to Steal Our Freedom. Judge Jeanine, always fun to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for talking with me. I appreciate it. Take care, Buck.
You too.
Bye.
I got to tell you, folks, I don't see a prosecution coming out of any of this Durham stuff, as I've been telling you. I don't see it happening. I think that the deep state they're a slippery bunch. Yes, they should all be fired, and some of them have been, but they're able to keep their stuff in that realm of that gray area of professional culpability without clear violations of criminal law that they could be. You could try to get them on conspiracy. I mean, I think it's possible, but it would be quite a fight. And remember this, friends, because I know people are going. People ask me this, Buck. If you don't believe that there's any justice, why do you support Barr so much? I think that Barr is doing what he can with the laws we have and the system that exists as it does. If you bring federal charges against, let's say, Comey, and it's in D.C., and you're in that D.C. federal court, guess what? The D.C. Circuit Court, you're going to get a jury of lunatic Trump haters. And they're going to see it as an opportunity to make sure that James Comey walks right away. I mean, you're never going to get a jury in D.C. to convict James Comey. Not in Washington, D.C., friends. So you got to remember that. You got to remember that even if they brought charges, the chance of a conviction against these deep state henchmen, folks, I know you don't want to hear this, but I never lie to you. I'm always going to tell you the truth. Chance of them getting a conviction is probably about the same thing as the chance of anybody dying from COVID who's healthy and under the age of 50. It's very, very low. Not zero, but low. Grow up and vote for Trump. Why 2020 is your last chance to become an adult. That is the very enticing title from our friend Eddie Scarry over at the Washington Examiner. His book is out now. You can get a copy of it. Grow up and vote for Trump. Eddie, my man, good to have you on. Why should folks grow up and vote for Trump?
Well, it's actually very simple. I think that there's a lot of undecided voters out there. I know a lot. I'm sure you've talked to a lot who say, I don't like the way Trump talks. I don't like the way he tweets. I don't like the way, he's not someone I would invite to my Thanksgiving dinner. And on the other hand, but I'm really scared of this Black Lives Matter rioting. I'm not sure that Joe Biden's the guy for the economy. I don't know that anyone else has the answer on the coronavirus. Well, those are the stakes, and they're very high. So whereas Trump maybe isn't someone you want to set your children on his lap, he is the person who has done well with the economy. He is the wall standing between normal people and the Black Lives Matter mob. So it's time to just kind of suck it up, be a responsible adult. Being a responsible adult often means making the choice that is hard or that maybe you don't want to make. But growing up isn't fun, but it definitely means voting for Donald Trump.
And when you say that you know people that haven't decided yet, I'll be honest with you, I don't know anyone who hasn't decided yet. I know people that are the idea of voting for, and I'm talking about in personal life, not people that I know in the media or that write in and such. But everyone I know is either horrified at the idea of Trump getting reelected or just completely outraged at the notion of Trump not getting reelected. So when you talk to independents or people that are undecideds, and I'm sure you must have done some of that for the book, what are they undecided on at this point? I always kind of wonder about that. I mean, are they just looking at where the economy is and going to decide on that? Or is it just, I worry that it's the last news broadcast they see that determines whether or not some of these people are going to vote in Ohio and Florida and Pennsylvania for Trump or Biden.
Right. I mean, and I can tell you there are two women, young women. One's engaged. The other one is married with children. One lives in Arizona. One lives in Indiana. And I talk to them all the time. Neither of them are completely settled. When we have these conversations, I always kind of view it as an exercise just to inform my own thinking on this and what people are thinking outside of DC. And yet, it is kind of the same thing that comes up over again. It's a distaste, a personal distaste for Trump. You kind of look at it as the opposite of what the deal was with President Obama. A lot of people personally liked him, but they didn't like his policies. You see the opposite going with Trump. They do not like him personally, but they are in favor of his policies if they don't necessarily associate the two. But that's why I write the book. It's a matter of drawing that link, getting it through people that, again, you may not like him personally. You may not want to sit next to him at dinner. But again, growing up isn't always easy, but it means voting for Trump. It means voting for the guy who's saying we've had enough of this vandalism, the looting, the rioting. Because I'm telling you, the other side is basically, the base now is it behaves as children. They say we're going to make as much noise. We're going to terrify you. We're going to just make it so unbearable for you every day, your everyday life, that you're just going to want to give us the power. And that's what children do. They whine until they get what they want. But it's time to be the adult in the room and say we're not going to do that. That's not how we're going to do things in this country. And Donald Trump is the person. He's the only alternative to seeing that happen.
Do you get into his response to COVID as part of the pitch of grow up and vote for Trump, or do you really focus just on BLM and the law and order issue?
No, there's an entire chapter. I think the first chapter really is about the COVID response. And my book is not exactly easy on the president. I am critical of the president. I don't think there's a single person out there, a reasonable person out there, who can say that the president, his administration has done a bang up job on the response to COVID. I think he made a lot of mistakes. And yet, what is, now that we are where we are, do we want to go to the party of lockdowns? That's what Democrats are saying. That's what Joe Biden's saying, is I'll shut it down the second an expert tells me to. Well, the experts have said a lot of things, and they've turned out to be wrong in a lot of cases. They said masks did nothing. Now they save lives. They said everyone stay indoors. Now they're saying you stay indoors, we're going to see more infection. We're going to see more deaths. So there's been a lot of things that we shouldn't necessarily have looked to the experts for. So do we want to go forward? Working through the coronavirus, working through the pandemic should mean literally working through it. And that's what we're trying to do. And yet, Joe Biden, the AOCs of the Democratic Party, they're saying, you know what, you give up your job, give up your life, give up any sense of what you believe to be normal. We'll give you a little check here and there to keep you, tide you over, but stay inside, and you're never going to go back to normal. They say that, by the way. They say we're never going back to normal. Normal is still an option. And normal, again, the only way we're going to get there is if we reelect Donald Trump.
Oh, wait. So out of curiosity, Eddie, so you say that you think that Trump has made mistakes. And I think there are things that Trump has done that I did not want him to do, or that in retrospect look like they weren't the right move for the pandemic. But it seems to me that those things were the things that he was told to do by the experts that he's supposed to listen to, right? I mean, so this is where I think it's interesting, the Democrat criticism of Trump on this. In a sense, when we're relying on the CDC and the NIH to come up with policy, and we're told if you don't listen to them, you're reckless. And then we do listen to them, and I think Trump did at every stage. I cannot find, I don't know one thing where Trump didn't do what the experts in the government said that he was supposed to do, including extending the lockdowns. So I can't quibble with, there are things that I think that were done that were wrong. But it seems to me that the things that Trump, that he did, that didn't work out the way they were supposed to, that were the wrong decision at the time, was when he was listening to the experts. Or do you see it differently?
No, I think about that a lot, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. I think where he made mistakes was when they eventually said to start wearing the mask. And from the beginning, I had believed before, when they were saying nobody wear masks, I thought there's no convincing me that these masks don't work at least a little bit. For him to make fun of Joe Biden for wearing one, for him to go to his rallies and say this is going to disappear overnight. There were a lot of situations like that where I thought these are not the right comments to be making about something that, even though, and I've been writing a lot about this at the Washington Examiner, the risk for most, by and large, for most people, particularly people under the age of 55 is very minimal. It's like infinitesimal. And yet
almost
still
zero.
it is a risk.
Right.
It's right. It's still a risk. It's still a life. There are things that we should be looking at to be taken seriously, to be protecting certain people. So to be so cavalier, to brush it off as something that's going to disappear. We have 15 people dead. We're soon going to see the number drop to zero. I think, like you're saying, I think in a lot of ways he was following what the experts said. And yet there has also been strong indication by his own admission that
Fauci was saying in February that it was like no big deal. Right? So I mean, I remember Fauci, don't worry about it. It's like, okay, well, now everyone's turning on trashing Trump. I'm much more concerned, and you raise this point about what Democrats are going to do. There had been this theory, this concern on the right that, as soon as Biden wins, this all goes away. I think that's a total misread. I think if Biden wins, then they leverage this whole situation. Then they say everyone's got to wear their mask and everyone's got to mobilize the same way to fight climate change. And
exactly.
They use this moment of fear and political mobilization as a Democrat agenda tool.
Oh, sure. Exactly. I completely agree with you. I'm so glad there's somebody in a prominent position saying the exact same thing, because I thought the same thing. People say this is going to go away after the election because it's a political tool. No, it's going to be ramped up times 10. And don't think for one second that people like Andrew Cuomo don't enjoy being on TV, called an authority, called a leader. Certain scientists that go on CNN every day and predict the most dire things they can say they think they're the voice of reason, the sound expertise. They really, really enjoy that. They enjoy it a little bit too much. They enjoy the power because there's a lot of power that comes with telling people to stay inside, live off of us, depend on us. We're going to be the ones who give you money. Don't worry about your business. Don't worry about what you've built your life saving up for. Don't worry about the dream you created for yourself. Count on us. There's a lot of intoxicating power there for the Democratic Party. There's a lot of people too comfortable with these lockdowns. So yes, I think I completely agree. I'm so glad you're saying it because I hadn't heard anybody else say it, is that this is going to get a lot worse after the election if Joe Biden is elected.
Yeah, I'm trying to spread the word out. It's you, me, and Ann Coulter so far that have all been saying, "Hey guys, guess what?
Known.
It gets worse if Biden wins with the lockdowns." But everyone should check out Eddie's book, "Grow Up and Vote for Trump: Why 2020 is Your Last Chance to Become an Adult." Eddie Scarry, good luck with the book, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Buck.
It's time for roll call.
All right. Roll call, everybody. Facebook.com/Buck Sexton. Team Buck at iHeartMedia.com. That's the way to reach out to us. Or on Instagram, which I hope you're all following me on because we do more and more posting there. Go to Buck Sexton on Instagram. It's pretty easy. So there you have it. CJ writes, "Dear Buck, I saw something last night on Andy No's Twitter that I'd like to ask you about. An officer was hit in the back of the head full force with a baseball bat in Seattle. Seemed like an obvious assault, but it didn't even appear as though the perpetrator got arrested. Having been a police officer, can you help me understand how this is permitted? And if there are no repercussions for striking a police officer, what's to stop it from happening over and over again?" CJ, first off, I was never actually a police officer. I was an intelligence specialist in the NYPD's intelligence division, effectively a CIA analyst who was borrowed by the NYPD to help them on counterterrorism cases. So I never was a uniformed law enforcement officer, was never a patrol officer or anything like that. But I did work for the NYPD on their most sensitive counterterrorism cases. As for, and so that means running informants and doing, drafting the surveillance statements and things like that. Doing some of the surveillance, depending on what we're talking about. As for why the person wasn't arrested who hit the cop with a bat, yeah, well, in these situations where you have so much just madness going on, there's such a frenzy of activity. Sometimes the cops aren't able to get the person. They're more concerned about addressing immediate officer safety. But yeah, I agree. Can you imagine? You're at a protest and you're just going to go up to a cop with a baseball bat and hit him in the head? I mean, the guy had a helmet on, thank God, but still, I can tell you this. You get hit in the head with a baseball bat and you got a helmet on, you're still probably getting a concussion. You just might not die. You don't want to get hit in the head with a baseball bat. That's going to hurt no matter what kind of helmet you have on. So, and dangerous, honestly, even with a helmet on. As for what we see going on here, I just think the cops in some places, in some cases, are overwhelmed and aren't really able to handle this. They're just not. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the resources, the personnel to handle this. And there's so many maniacs running around in the streets. That's what ends up going on, CJ. It's terrible. And it's a really bad sign for the future of law and order in this country when cops can be attacked like that without consequence. Noah, I live in Logan, Ohio, and have firsthand information about the woman arrested for not wearing a mask. Everyone at the game was required to wear a mask. My coworker, who was at the game sitting behind his father, was told by the same cop, a very well-known cop, a good guy, school cop for years, to put on his mask. His dad, who was sitting beside him, wasn't wearing a mask because he was eating. The cop said you have to wear a mask or leave unless you're eating. Everyone locally is defending the cop because he had to enforce it and is a good man. But this is the absurdity we've come to. I hope this helps give insight. Finally, something happens in our little town. Noah, thank you for bringing that perspective. And yeah, we always want that ground truth and that the important facts to be front and center whenever we talk about any news story. Look, I think it's wrong to have cops enforcing mask mandates. I think that mask guidance should be voluntary and left to individuals. People want to wear a mask, great. Forcing other people to wear masks outdoors is not scientifically based. It's just people. Other people are frightened. And so you're being forced, your liberties are being compromised because there are other people who are frightened. Well, that's a very slippery slope, friends. And, I think people are forgetting this. Part of liberty is there's a trade-off, right? I mean, we would all theoretically be safer from kidnapping if the government was allowed to implant a chip in all of our arms to track us, but you'd be trading something off there. But sure, people who are kidnapped or people who get lost in the woods or whatever it may be, that's very sad, and that could be stopped if we all had government chips implanted in our arms, but we recognize we don't want to do that. There's some trade-off there, and mandating mask wearing outside is in that category of it's really very minimal benefit to anyone, and it's an intrusion on liberty, and the risk is acceptable. The risk is acceptable for society. And, anybody can get COVID. Anyone's loved ones can get COVID. There are only so many things that it's reasonable to demand people do in response to this. And I do not think that outdoor mask mandates fall in that category. As for the cop, it's a tough circumstance. I think law enforcement just needs to start nullifying these unacceptable. But then you say, well, Bug, what are they? They're going to get fired from their job over this? Is that really fair? It's tough. I can tell you this. I would use my law enforcement discretion if I were a cop and at a mask situation like this. I'd talk to the person and say, look, this is the rule. People around you are going to get, they're going to get very uptight about this. And I would say to them, can you just out of courtesy so we can diffuse the situation? But I couldn't put cuffs on somebody and say you're under arrest for this. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And yeah, maybe, but really, is that going to cost you your job? I mean, come on. I don't think so. But, with these crazy Democrats, you never know. Donna writes, hello, Buck and producer Mark. Do the Democrats just forget history? FDR changed the retirement age of the Supreme Court to make justices retire so he could pack the court. Donna, Democrats do not care about history, do not care about precedent. It's all about whatever the emotions of the moment demand and require. So there you go. Toby, Buck, producer Mark, I've been down for the count because of getting COVID-19, and I'm starting a new job this week. I'm going over the road. Us truckers like milkshakes, but the country runs on diesel and caffeine. Us smarter truckers make Black Rifle coffee right in our cabs. Toby, well, God bless, man. I hope you're okay and all back and recovered from getting COVID. And as for producer Mark, truckers do like milkshakes.
I never denied that they like milkshakes. My point was that they don't sit around in circles every night and drink milkshakes.
Well,
and I think he just proved that by saying that America runs on diesel and caffeine.
Well, that's certainly true. And the fact that it runs on Black Rifle makes me very happy. So that's my coffee. As for yeah, no, I think he answered. I think he answered it all there, Toby. Anyway, God bless. Hope you're healthy, and thanks for reaching out to us. And Team Buck Truckers, we love all of you. Some of our most reliable. We're riding along with Team Buck Truckers all across this country and have been for years. And that's just cool, man. It's cool to know that while you guys are driving, making sure that commerce can actually happen in this country, and you got the Freedom Hut riding along with you. Alex, there's so many bad things happening in the world that the lib mob could put their energy toward Christian genocide in Nigeria, the treatment of Uyghurs in China, child sex trafficking, violent cartels, etc., instead of the made-up narrative of black people being hunted every day in the U.S. Yes, Alex, I often say this about climate change, where there is a real cost to climate change, not just in economic terms and in terms of liberty, but there's a real cost because of the opportunity cost of using those resources and energy to something that would actually make a difference. You could actually help people, or you can go around lecturing everybody on CO2 in the air, right? But it feels better to people, and they're more likely to be able to control everyone and to virtue signal in front of everyone to be the great warriors against CO2 emissions. But there are other things that you would do that would be helpful, but would require real effort, real work. Ending child trafficking, for example, or human trafficking, that is as honorable a mission as anyone could have. But you're going to have to do stuff. You're going to have to raise the funds, work with law enforcement. There's action that must be taken. Ending climate change, you just get to walk around with like a T-shirt and a hashtag on your social media, and everyone's like, oh, you're doing the great fight. So that's why that stuff appeals so much more to libs. They don't want to have to actually get their hands dirty and do charitable work. Oh, my gosh. They don't want to have to help people in need, take their own time to do it. Oh, no. No, much, much more fun to go to fancy conferences where everyone arrives in a private jet to talk about how much global carbon emissions are going to end the human race. But we, the chosen people, are all coming together in our private jets to end the threat of climate change. That's pretty much liberalism these days, the libs defined. All right, more roll call coming our way here. But before we dive into that, producer Mark, any fun plans for the weekend? You doing some tango lessons with the missus?
I don't know why I would be doing tango lessons with the missus. Our wedding's long gone. I'm just going to hang out with some friends tomorrow. I think my friend's having a barbecue and watch football all weekend. That's what I do.
What is the most delicious barbecue staple for you? What is the thing that you're like, if you can always make sure there's one thing, and I mean anything, any meat, any condiment, any side, drink, what is the thing you always want to have at a barbecue?
I mean, the staple and the most common, because obviously, if you're thinking barbecue, thinking brisket or something like that. But for an average barbecue, it's a good burger. I personally say there's nothing better than a good burger on a charcoal grill.
I think that's a fair choice. I would say that, but I would also throw in, I would agree with you, but I would also throw in there, it's great to have sausage at a barbecue because it's one thing that will always be delicious, and that no matter how crappy the cook may be or how old and dirty the grill is, that sausage, like Italian sausage or a Polish sausage or whatever, all it has to do is be heated up and charred, and it's going to be delicious.
That's fair. Yeah. I do like a good sausage and pepper sandwich.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of stuff. Because the thing is, you can't mess it up. I'd love to say a steak, but if you get somebody working a charcoal grill with a steak and they don't know what they're doing, easy to overcook it, char the outside, kind of cold and raw on the inside, So I'm just saying, if you're looking for foolproof, sausage at a barbecue always gets it done. Always gets it done.
Yeah, because you can't really overcook a sausage that badly.
Well, and they're pre-cooked too, so you don't have to worry about it being raw or whatever, and it's going to be delicious. So I'm just saying that's one thing that I've learned from having to throw many a barbecue in college, and so because there's nothing really quite as when you bite into one of those pre-made burger patties and it's just blackened, charred on the outside, and then you get in the inside, you go, oh, it's nice and cold in here, like refrigerator cold. You know what I mean?
It's impressive to screw up a burger. I don't know how you do it on a grill.
People do. I'm telling you, people.
I
do.
know they do, but
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a hot dog is good too. A hot dog is because I also eat these things without buns because I have to, like a weirdo. But anyway,
You don't just bring your own gluten-free buns everywhere you go?
no, I don't pull the Hillary with the I have hot sauce in my bag. No, I've got gluten free. No, I don't do that.
Wait, so if your family's having a barbecue, they don't have gluten-free buns for you, or you don't bring your own?
I'm
I
sorry.
don't
What's
think
up?
you would. I said if your family's throwing a barbecue, they don't have gluten-free buns for you. You don't bring your own.
Oh no, they always hook up the we.
Yeah, I figured your family.
Yeah, of course,
would.
they always got the gluten free for me when it's family. But I'm talking when you go to friends' house. No, I can't be the
Oh
guy
yeah,
who
a friend's
shows
not
up.
good unless it's like a really good friend. They're not doing that for you.
Yeah, no. That's not happening. All right, let's get back into some of our roll call here. John, Buck, you said you wanted to send us our thoughts on the Dem strategy for thwarting the Trump Supreme Court nominee. So here's mine. No matter who it is, the Democrat politicians are going to slander the individual, even if it's a woman. The mob, however, will do the dirty work. They'll try and intimidate the nominee and their family, as well as friends. They'll make the nominee feel unsafe in their own home. I believe they'll try and intimidate the person Trump appoints out of the job. I don't think the libs are above attempting to take a Supreme Court nominee's life. Jeez. Unfortunately, this is what we've come to. Political assassinations are about the only step in their playbook they have not yet exercised. They're definitely, okay, John, let's go through this. I agree they're definitely going to slander the person. But I also agree with you that I'm concerned about the dirty work of the mob, not even using the political process, but using, mafia-style threats, Hey, I know where your kids are going to school. I don't think you want to be a Supreme Court justice, right? That kind of behind-the-scenes stuff. Or even against a sitting U.S. senator, Friends, it's not hard to do. And you only need to turn 2 senators. So I think they go entirely outside the system and honestly illegal. I think the Democrats will try illegal maneuvers. Now, that not the official party apparatus, but the Democrat left to prevent a Amy Coney Barrett or whoever. I think it's Amy. And we'll find out by Monday. We'll be able to say, all right, we know the nominee is. It looks like it's going to be Amy Coney Barrett. We'll know tomorrow on Saturday. But I think that's you're on the right path. And as for, I certainly look. I just pray to God. Assassination is that should never happen in this country. It should never happen in any country, but that should never happen in this country. And I certainly hope that doesn't occur ever for any political party for any reason. That should never be what happens. Susie, I agree with you and other voices in the media. The Republicans just need to vote to confirm the Supreme Court justice. Skip the hearing. If I had to guess, the left will try to Mitt Romney her and say that Barrett will wage a war on birth control because she is pro-life and Catholic. Look at the kind of meltdowns the left had when RBG died. I think they'll make it a feminist issue. From personal experience, if you're a woman and you don't carry water for modern feminism, you don't count as a woman to them. Yeah, Susie, I agree with you, obviously. I think everything you're saying is true. That is going to be part of their attack on ACB, assuming that she is the pick for the RBG vacancy. And they're going to be very nasty and very gross about this. So let's go here. Next, we got Kyle Buck. If you're wondering what the left will do regarding Trump's SCOTUS pick, I think I might know where they are headed. I believe that we're at the point where they believe their legal options are exhausted and they will resort to targeted violence. Whoever Trump nominates, they'll need close protection and immediately. By the way, Jupiter, Florida is lovely and riot-free if you're looking to relocate. Kyle, producer Mark would be very happy. We like a happy producer Mark, so Jupiter, Florida would not be a bad move for us. That is for sure. Thank you so much for writing into us. Team, pass the buck this weekend. Do me that solid. Do me a favor. Get one person in your life who listens to this show to start listening either on their local station or on the iHeart app, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next week, my friends, have a great weekend. Shields high.